It was 10 o'clock at night when a notification popped up in the neighborhood group chat. Someone had tagged me. Smoking on the balcony? Seriously? Have some decency. My laundry reeks of ash now. I froze, staring at the message. First of all, I don't smoke. Second, I'm not even home, I'm on a business trip. Then came the photo. Snapped from below, the image showed a hand dangling a cigarette over the railing of my balcony. The hand was large, the knuckles rough and pronounced, clearly a man's hand. It was taken just 5 minutes ago. Don't try to say that's not your house. My eyes locked on the screen. The pale yellow ceiling, the half-exposed light bulb, no doubt about it, it was my balcony. In the quiet hotel room hundreds of miles away, a chill ran down my spine. Something was off. Badly off. I dialed Anna. The phone rang for a long time before she finally picked up. George? Why are you calling this late? I was already asleep. Nothing urgent. Just, missed you, that's all. You'll be back in 2 days, babe. What did you do today? The usual, work, came home, went to bed. It's boring as hell being alone. Yeah. I'll be home soon. Try to get some more rest. After we hung up, I sat there, clutching the phone in my hand. Anna's a light sleeper. On nights when I snore a little too loud, she'll snap at me for waking her. But my phone call failed to disturb her tonight. Something wasn't right. She never went to bed before midnight, ever. Those few minutes after the call, my mind raced. I even considered going off on the neighbor in the group chat, just to provoke him enough to come upstairs and knock on the door. But reason kicked in. I needed to stay calm. Figure out what the hell was going on first. So instead, I apologized in the chat. Said I was sorry for the trouble and offered to cover any damages. Then I added the neighbor privately and tried to dig a little deeper. Sir, actually. I'm not home right now. Maybe it was my younger brother staying over. He probably lit the cigarette without giving it much thought. Don't worry, I'll definitely have a word with him. That seemed to smooth things over. His tone softened right away. Look, I wasn't trying to make a big deal out of it, but your brother's been at it for 3 days straight. That's why I snapped. 3 days? My head started pounding, like someone was stirring a metal rod inside my skull. I didn't care what time it was anymore. I called my manager and said something had come up at home. I needed to cut my trip short. By the time I got back the next morning, the place was a mess. Anna had already left for work. Takeout boxes were scattered across the kitchen table, half-eaten pizza, a cup of coffee, a tub of spicy jambalaya, buffalo wings still glistening with sauce. I stared at it all in silence. Anna never touches spicy food. There it was, just like I suspected. A thin trace of ash lodged between the tiles on the balcony floor. Barely noticeable unless you were really looking for it. I stepped into the bedroom, and felt the heat rush straight to my head. The sheets were a mess, pillows tossed around like a storm had hit the bed. My mind couldn't help but paint the scene, what happened here last night. Not just last night. The night before that. And the one before that. I clenched my fists, forcing down the fury boiling in my chest. Every cell in my body screamed to rip the sheets off and throw everything out. But I held myself back. On the nightstand sat Anna's tablet. I'd never touched it before, not once. But this time, I picked it up, tried to unlock it. She'd changed the passcode. God knows when. I walked into the bathroom. My eyes went straight to the counter. My razor. It had been used. Before I left, I'd cleaned it thoroughly, every corner, every blade. But now? A faint layer of stubble clung to the cartridge. You wouldn't even notice it unless you were looking for it. And I wanted to throw up. I texted Anna. Something came up with the project. I'll need to stay a few more days. She replied almost immediately. First, a sad face emoji. Then a message saying she understood, that she missed me already, and that I should focus on work. If it had been before, I would have dropped everything and caught the next flight home just to be with her. But now? Now I saw it for what it was, she probably hoped I'd stay away a little longer. I found a motel a few blocks from our apartment and checked in. Dropped off my luggage and took a cab downtown. There was a small coffee shop across the street from Anna's office building. I ordered a black coffee and sat by the window, waiting for her shift to end. Anna's job? That was something I'd arranged through a friend. The pay was decent, not great, not terrible, but it came with perks: no overtime, no office politics, no late-night conference calls. Just a simple 9 to 5. And sure enough, not long after I settled in, I spotted her walking out of the building. She looked cheerful, even radiant. She flagged down a cab and got in, heading in the exact opposite direction of our apartment. Lucky for me, it was rush hour, and there were plenty of taxis cruising by. I jumped into one and told the driver, "Follow that cab, but don't make it obvious." Traffic was still light at that hour. Her cab sped west, toward the suburbs. Mine kept a comfortable distance behind. Eventually, she got out on a quiet street in the West End, right in front of a small photography studio called Focus Lens Portraits. I paid the fare and crossed to a narrow alley across the street, careful to stay hidden. Through the glass door, I could see her, Anna's back facing me, chatting with someone across the table. But the person was blocked by her body, and I couldn't make out who it was. They were talking, gesturing casually. Then, out of nowhere, Anna playfully punched the person's shoulder, and without missing a beat, leaned in and perched herself right on his lap. And then they kissed. Not a shy peck. Not a hesitant moment. A deep, familiar, effortless kiss. The kind you share with someone you've done this with before. Many times before. My vision blurred. My body went numb from head to toe. It's one thing to suspect. It's another to see it unfold right in front of your eyes. All along, I'd been telling myself to stay calm. From the moment something felt off last night, to watching her hop into that cab, I held myself together because somewhere, deep down, I still didn't want to believe it. But now, there it was. Plain as day. Undeniable. My face must have said it all. Rage, disbelief, hell, there were moments I nearly charged across the street, kicked open that glass door, and beat the crap out of both of them. But no. I kept telling myself, this isn't the moment to blow it all up. Timing matters. Evidence matters. After the kissing session, the two of them finally stood up. I narrowed my eyes. Were they heading home now? I already had it planned out. If they dared set foot in my house again, I'd block the door, drag her parents over, and let them catch the whole sordid scene right in the act. Let them see their precious daughter for who she really is. But then, only Anna came out. She walked off on her own. The guys stayed behind. Seriously? I even told her I'd be out of town longer, gave them the perfect window. And now they're not even taking it? What a waste of a perfectly good plan. And yet. There it was, that strange, gnawing feeling. Disappointment? What the hell is wrong with me? Now that the coast was clear, I finally got a good look at the guy's face. Gotta admit, he wasn't bad looking. I didn't leave right away. Instead, I stayed tucked in the shadows across the street, figuring out how to dig deeper. I needed to know who this man was, everything about him. If he'd been inside my home, there was a good chance he'd seen my pictures. Maybe even recognized me. I had to be smart. Still, today wasn't a total loss. At least I'd found the cheating bastard's base of operations. That was something. Eventually, my legs started aching from standing so long, so I sat down right there on the concrete, back against the alley wall. I watched him through the glass, typing away at his computer, completely unaware. I stayed there, just observing, thinking about what my next move would be. About half an hour later, another person showed up, a woman this time. Tight crop top, micro mini skirt, long hair cascading down her back, walking like she was on a runway. At first, I figured she was just another client. But the moment she walked in, she didn't even hesitate, she flung herself right into his arms. This new girl was even bolder than Anna. Still in that tiny skirt, she straddled his lap without hesitation, legs parted, like she owned the place. I was stunned. Heavy smoky eye makeup, bold red lipstick, oversized hoop earrings, she was the total opposite of Anna. Loud, flashy, unapologetically provocative. And yet, I should have seen this coming. It's not just rich men who turn rotten. Even a nobody, if he's got decent looks, can figure out how to milk it for all it's worth. Charm, a smile, a well-angled pose, sometimes, that's all it takes. I started to wonder, maybe it wasn't just the guy. Maybe it was this part of town. Maybe the studio just didn't get much business. That would explain why he could use it as his personal hookup lounge. One woman out the door, another in right after. I watched them fool around for a while, then figured I'd seen enough for one day. He wasn't going anywhere, and now I knew where to find him. I headed back to the motel. Later that night, I pulled out my laptop and typed "focus lens portraits" into Yelp. Bingo! The listing popped right up, complete with a phone number. I plugged the number into Facebook, and sure enough, it led me to an account. Username, focus lens. Profile picture, a camera lens. I grabbed my work phone, separate from my personal one, and sent a friend request, adding a message. "Hi, looking to book a professional headshot session. Would love to ask a few questions." While I waited for a response, I opened up Anna's social media. She was the kind of person who loved posting photos of herself, every angle, every outfit, every filter. And sure enough, something jumped out at me. About 6 months ago, her photos started to change. The lighting, the framing, the poses, they all had a new polish to them. A different aesthetic. A different eye behind the camera. Back then, most of Anna's photos were just casual selfies or snapshots her girlfriends took for each other. They'd slap on a few filters, maybe run them through some beauty apps, nothing subtle about it. The edits were obvious, the lighting often too soft, the colors unnaturally warm. But somewhere along the way, that changed. The pictures began to look different. Cleaner. Sharper. Effortlessly elegant. Even the most casual poses suddenly had this professional touch, perfect lighting, carefully framed angles, the kind of photos that looked more like a personal portfolio than something you'd toss on Instagram. Then I stumbled on one post that stopped me cold. It was from 3 months ago, Valentine's Day. Anna wore a spaghetti-strap dress, standing in full view, posing like she knew exactly how the shot would turn out. It was a beautiful photo, no question. But it wasn't taken by me. The caption read, "I hope I will always be the most beautiful in your eyes." I remember that day vividly. I'd been away on another business trip. Feeling guilty, I wired her $5,200, just to make up for missing the holiday. So that's what it was. While I was out there working, sending her money and apologizing. She was flaunting her affair in plain sight. No, not even subtly, she was rubbing it in my face. I checked back on the business account. The friend request had already been accepted. His feed didn't have much, just a few promotional posts about the studio, some ad banners, a few behind-the-scenes shots. Nothing particularly useful. I scrolled through the whole thing in minutes. Then he messaged me. "Hi." I started spinning my story. "Hi. I'm with a company that's considering getting professional headshots done for all employees. There are quite a few of us, so the schedule isn't set yet. Would it be okay if I contact you once we finalize things?" He responded almost instantly, with a surprised emoji, then. Absolutely. A potential big-ticket corporate client, he couldn't resist the bait. I had him exactly where I wanted him. I couldn't sleep that night. So I pulled up Anna's Instagram. I rarely checked it before, she usually posted the same stuff on Facebook, and that was enough for me. But this time, I wanted to see everything. I started scrolling from 6 months back. Turns out, she posted a lot. Like, 3 or 4 times a day sometimes. Photos, quotes, selfies, food shots, you name it. I forced myself to go through every single post. Every caption, every comment, every like. It took me over an hour, but finally, something caught my eye. A close-up selfie, just Anna's face, heavily filtered. And underneath it, a comment from a suspicious account. The username was simply H, the profile picture a black and white side profile shot, oozing pretentious mystery. The comment? Just a single emoji. But something about it made me pause. I tapped on the account. The feed was exactly what I feared, page after page of glamour shots and portraits of young women. Clean edits, artsy poses. His bio read, freelance portrait photographer. The name, the content, it all matched. It was him. I'd never posted anything on my own Instagram before, but now I got to work. Changed my profile settings, switched the gender to female, picked a new display name, Moonlight Bloom. Uploaded a stock photo of a model as my profile picture. And before anything else, I made sure to block Anna. Then I sent him a DM. Hi. I'd love to book a shoot with you, how do I schedule? I waited, watching the screen. No reply. Eventually, I gave up and went to bed. The next morning, I was jolted awake by a call from Anna. She sounded unusually cheerful. Hey babe, when are you coming back? Not sure yet, I said. Why? My parents want to have dinner with you when you're home. Yeah? Sure, sounds good. She didn't have to spell it out. I could already guess what that dinner was about. Even if I hadn't caught her red-handed, even if I hadn't seen the lipstick stains of betrayal, her parents inviting me out meant only one thing. Honestly, I had to hand it to Anna, her nerve was something else. Cheating behind my back and still having the audacity to ask me for a loan, $500,000, no less. All for her little brother, Nate. Nate was the textbook definition of spoiled. The kind of guy who never learned how to stand on his own 2 feet because his parents always carried him. He'd just graduated and was already complaining that his salary wasn't enough to support himself, yet somehow, he felt entitled to buy a house. Moreover, this guy demanded full payment, saying that he didn't want to be saddled with a mortgage. His parents had been dragging him around, house hunting like it was some kind of noble quest. But anywhere they looked, the kind of house he wanted would cost at least $2 million up front. They started borrowing from everyone they knew. And once they found out I had a $500,000 savings account, Anna wouldn't stop bringing it up. She played every angle, how Nate was her only sibling, how hard their parents had worked to raise both of them, how marrying her made me half a son in their family, which apparently meant I was now responsible for helping her brother buy a house he hadn't earned. I wasn't buying it. I didn't believe in draining my savings or putting myself into debt just so a freshly employed kid could play homeowner. So I kept brushing her off, told her the money was locked up in long-term investments, hard to liquidate right now. That didn't stop her from arguing, sulking, or guilt-tripping me every other week. After our last conversation, I opened Instagram again. Still no reply to the DM I'd sent the night before. I stared at the screen, starting to doubt myself. Had I gotten the wrong guy after all? Anna's parents had never been especially warm toward me, but they'd never been outright hostile either. Somewhere in the middle. Polite, civil, measured. Before, I'd kept my mouth shut about the loan. I didn't want to stir up tension in the family. But now? That obligation was gone. I was done pretending. So I figured dinner with the in-laws would be the perfect time to make it clear, there'd be no loan coming from me. Not now, not ever. And once they found out what their darling daughter had really been up to, I doubted they'd have the nerve to blame me for anything anyway. I checked out of the motel and went home. To my surprise, the place was spotless. No trace of what had happened here just days ago. Anna had done a thorough job cleaning up, and she was already off to work. I called her mom, and she told me the dinner reservation was set. When I arrived at the restaurant, both of them greeted me with warm smiles and eager eyes, too eager. The whole scene gave off the scent of a setup. My father-in-law waved a hand toward the table, proudly announcing he'd brought 2 bottles of wine. Said he wouldn't let me leave sober tonight. My mother-in-law chimed in with a bright smile, telling me how hard I worked, how I was always away on business, how exhausting that must be, and how she'd ordered all my favorite dishes tonight, just to show some love. Right. By the time the drinks were flowing and the table was halfway cleared, my father-in-law leaned in and asked casually, "You know, when you married our daughter, we didn't make things difficult for you, did we?" I smiled and nodded. No, not at all. And to be fair, they didn't. But that was because my family came in with a show of good faith, putting down $280,000 as a wedding gift. Way above the average in this town. We made it clear we were serious. And let's not forget, Anna never had to move far. She could see her family anytime she wanted. Me? My hometown's over 800 miles away. Every holiday, every visit, I had to ask her first, get her approval, before I could even think about going home. Funny how no one ever talked about that part. My mother-in-law gave her husband a little nudge and smiled warmly. "You're hardworking and kind," she said. "Our daughter married you because of your character." I just gave a polite smile and stayed quiet. But my silence didn't go unnoticed. Sensing I wasn't taking the bait, my father-in-law finally cut to the chase. "We've already found a house for Nate," he said, trying to sound casual. "It's a great property, but good homes go fast, we need to lock it in before someone else snatches it up." My mother-in-law chimed in right on cue. Families should support each other in times of need. You help us now, and later, we'll help you and Anna. Once you two start having kids, we'll be there, babysitting, running errands, anything you need. I kept nodding politely, offering vague responses, never directly saying no, but never agreeing either. The air at the table started to shift. My father-in-law's smile tightened. "I'm gonna use the restroom," he said, pushing his chair back. But before he stepped away, I caught the look he shot his wife. She caught it too and stood up a second later. "I'll go check on him." The moment they left the table, my eyes dropped to his phone, which he'd left behind, screen facing up. And that's when I saw it. A new message popped up. "Dad, are you guys done eating?" Did he agree? If he doesn't want to, then I don't want to wait any longer. It was Anna. My heart clenched. Done waiting for what? I knew I shouldn't, knew it was wrong, but I couldn't stop myself. I picked up the phone and swiped the screen open. No passcode. And that's when the bile truly rose in my throat. The full message thread was right there. A disgusting, back-and-forth conversation between Anna and her father. Conversations they never meant for me to see. Turns out, they'd known all along. Her parents knew Anna was cheating on me. They'd known from the start. I started reading from the bottom up, and the very first few messages hit me like a punch to the gut. Her father had laid out the plan crystal clear. Get the $500,000 from me first, whatever it takes. Then, once Anna filed for divorce, the money would be counted as marital property. Legally, they'd only need to return half. And if Anna could stir up enough drama before the split, create a fight, make it messy, they might not have to pay back a single cent. My temples throbbed, a pulse pounding so hard I thought I'd black out. What the hell kind of twisted logic was that? My hands moved on autopilot, scrolling through the rest of the thread, page after page of scheming. Almost every message revolved around one thing: the house. The loan. The money. Then, farther up, came the bombshell, Anna's confession. She'd told her father she was cheating on me. Laid it all out. Said even if they disowned her, even if they dragged her back home and locked the doors, she wasn't staying in this marriage another day. At first, her dad tried to talk her out of it. Tried to play the role of the disappointed father. But it didn't last long. Eventually, he gave in. Shifted gears. Focused on salvaging what he could, mostly, my money. That was when it hit me, hard and cold. This wasn't just a betrayal. It was a setup. A long con. There are terrible people in this world, but I never imagined marrying into a family like this. Parents who don't just condone their daughter's affair, they help strategize the exit. Parents who see their son-in-law not as family, but as a walking bank account. If I hadn't caught Anna cheating, if I hadn't discovered what they were really like, I probably wouldn't have given them the full $500,000, but I'd have handed over at least $100,000. Easily. Then what? Anna would have walked straight into her lover's arms, her family would have used my money to put a down payment on their dream house, and I would have been left standing there, clueless, broke, played like a fool. Just then, the door to the private room opened. I quickly put the phone back in its place. I started reading from the bottom up, and the very first few messages hit me like a punch to the gut. Her father had laid out the plan crystal clear. Get the $500,000 from me first, whatever it takes. Then, once Anna filed for divorce, the money would be counted as marital property. Legally, they'd only need to return half. And if Anna could stir up enough drama before the split, create a fight, make it messy, they might not have to pay back a single cent. My temples throbbed, a pulse pounding so hard I thought I'd black out. What the hell kind of twisted logic was that? My hands moved on autopilot, scrolling through the rest of the thread, page after page of scheming. Almost every message revolved around one thing: the house. The loan. The money. Then, farther up, came the bombshell, Anna's confession. She'd told her father she was cheating on me. Laid it all out. Said even if they disowned her, even if they dragged her back home and locked the doors, she wasn't staying in this marriage another day. At first, her dad tried to talk her out of it. Tried to play the role of the disappointed father. But it didn't last long. Eventually, he gave in. Shifted gears. Focused on salvaging what he could, mostly, my money. That was when it hit me, hard and cold. This wasn't just a betrayal. It was a setup. A long con. There are terrible people in this world, but I never imagined marrying into a family like this. Parents who don't just condone their daughter's affair, they help strategize the exit. Parents who see their son-in-law not as family, but as a walking bank account. If I hadn't caught Anna cheating, if I hadn't discovered what they were really like, I probably wouldn't have given them the full $500,000, but I'd have handed over at least $100,000. Easily. Then what? Anna would have walked straight into her lover's arms, her family would have used my money to put a down payment on their dream house, and I would have been left standing there, clueless, broke, played like a fool. Just then, the door to the private room opened. I quickly put the phone back in its place. Just as Anna's father was about to speak, his face already darkening, I cut him off. Actually, I said, calmly, even cheerfully, I've made up my mind. I'm willing to give Nate $500,000 to help him buy the house. The words landed like a bomb. His expression froze, mouth half open in disbelief. Whatever lecture he was about to deliver evaporated mid-sentence. He choked on his own saliva and started coughing violently. I stood up and walked over to pat his back like nothing had happened. You all right? I asked, almost sweetly. You're serious, he rasped out, eyes wide, still catching his breath. I nodded, deliberately, firmly. Dead serious. Their reactions were priceless, whiplash-inducing. Shock. Delight. Suspicion. Relief. All in the span of a few seconds. Honestly, their emotional pivot was better than anything you'd see in a movie. And me? I felt like something had possessed me in that moment. Something darker. Something cold and calculating. Maybe Anna had gotten a heads-up from her parents. That night, she came home acting strangely affectionate, more animated than usual, even a little flirtatious. But I wasn't playing along. I told her my stomach was upset and locked myself in the bathroom. She didn't press. Actually, she seemed glad to have me out of the way. She curled up on the couch, scrolling through her phone like she couldn't wait for me to disappear. Sitting on the toilet lid, I pulled out my phone and checked Instagram again. Finally, a response to my DM. Add me on Facebook. I created a brand new Facebook account, matching the username and profile photo exactly to my fake Instagram persona, Moonlight Bloom, same sultry model photo. I typed in the account he sent. And paused. It wasn't the same account I'd found yesterday through his phone number. What the hell? Did I actually get the wrong guy before? The new account accepted my friend request almost immediately. I clicked into his profile and started scrolling through his posts. There were tons of photos. This time, I could finally see his face clearly. Even with all the filters and airbrushing, it was him. No doubt. But this profile was nothing like the last one. If focus lens portraits was his professional mask, this one was his unfiltered side. The photos here? Mostly half-naked thirst traps. Shirt off. Bed selfies. Posing in mirrors. Trying way too hard. It was the kind of content that made your skin crawl. Honestly, there's only one way to describe it. Disgusting. Fighting back my disgust, I started typing. Hey, are those really you in the photos? The abs, the V-lines, those are real? Yeah. Damn. That's seriously impressive. Must take a lot of discipline to stay in shape like that. It's manageable, he replied. I saw on Instagram, you're amazing behind the camera. Any chance I could book a shoot with you? Sure. What should I call you? I'm Henry. Henry. Huh. I'd expected someone like him to melt at the first sign of flirtation, maybe flood my inbox with emojis or cheesy compliments. But he was surprisingly aloof. Two possibilities. 1, he was so used to women hitting on him that none of it fazed him anymore. Or 2, he was just playing it cool, trying to act mysterious, teasing me with some kind of slow burn, hard-to-get routine. Either way, I wasn't fooled. Since I agreed to loan $500,000, Anna's whole family has become angels. Smiles, small talk, endless compliments, suddenly I was the best son-in-law in the world. Of course, I wasn't actually handing over a dime anytime soon. I told them my investment account would mature in a month, just buying time. Meanwhile, on the Henry front, I kept both roles going. Flirting with him from my fake beauty account on one hand, keeping contact with his professional account through my corporate client alias on the other. Funny how his personality changed depending on which version of me he was talking to. With the business persona, the cold act disappeared. He was perfectly polite, engaging, even eager. A professional chasing a client. That gave me the opening I needed. I started asking subtle questions, probing here and there, pretending to build rapport. And it worked. In one of our chats, he let slip that he and his girlfriend were from the same small town. They'd moved to the city together to start something new. He opened the photography studio, and she launched a nail salon. Her name was Emily. That caught my attention. Immediately, I thought of the woman I'd seen at the studio, the one with the heavy smoky eye makeup and mini skirt. The idea of her doing manicures for clients was almost laughable. Still, I played it cool. Told my wife about your place, I said. She might want to get her nails done. Think your girlfriend could hook her up with a discount? Without hesitation, he sent me Emily's contact info. Perfect. Her Facebook profile picture showed a woman who looked warm, gentle, like the kind who bakes cookies on weekends and keeps a tidy home. Wait a second. That didn't add up. Warm and gentle, definitely not the same person I'd seen with the smoky eyes and skin-tight skirt. This woman wasn't her. I switched to my fake beauty account and sent her a friend request with a message about getting a manicure appointment. She accepted quickly. Scrolling through her posts, I found what I was looking for, an affectionate selfie of her wrapped around the photographer. Same guy. No doubt about it. I stared at the photo for a long time, comparing every feature, every expression. There was no way this was the same woman from before. So now it was official. Henry's girlfriend, Emily, wasn't the smoky-eyed woman. Which meant that woman was someone else entirely. So there it was, Henry wasn't just cheating with Anna. He had another one on the side. Maybe more. Probably more. Emily. The smoky-eyed woman. Anna. And God knows how many others he was stringing along through Instagram and whatever other apps he used. He's a total playboy. And for the first time, I felt something unfamiliar rising in me, righteous indignation. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. This was a mission. A calling, even. If no one else was going to take this guy down, maybe I was meant to do it myself. From that day on, whenever I had a free hour, I'd sneak out and stake out his studio. Just sit nearby, watching, waiting. And finally, after a few days, I hit the jackpot. The smoky-eyed woman showed up again. I moved quickly, crossed the street and stepped right in front of her before she could reach the door. "Hi," I said, offering a friendly smile. "I'm George." She blinked at me, a little caught off guard but not entirely unfriendly. "Hey. I'm Daisy." "Daisy. Nice to meet you," I said. "I work for a company that shoots street-style short videos, and you've really got a fantastic look. Would you be open to sharing your contact info? I'd love to keep in touch." She paused, chewing gum, giving me a full once-over with skeptical eyes. "You look more like a software engineer than a video guy." I chuckled. "Fair enough, you're not wrong. I'm more behind the scenes. But I'm serious, there's pay involved, and with your look, you'd be perfect. It'd be a shame not to use that kind of presence." She narrowed her eyes slightly, still wary. "Let me see your account first." I opened TikTok and showed her a random local street-style account I'd pulled up earlier. That did the trick. She nodded, satisfied, and handed me her contact info without hesitation. Honestly, I knew it didn't matter whether she believed the story or not. From her perspective, it cost her nothing to give me her number, and if the TikTok account was real, she might even make some money from it. I thanked her politely and turned to leave. But just as I was walking away, she called out again. I froze, thinking maybe she'd caught on to something. "My boyfriend's a photographer too," she said. "If your team ever needs someone, you should reach out to him." I smiled and nodded. "Good to know. I'll keep that in mind." Then I got the hell out of there. When I got home, I started acting all cocky, walking around with all my ego, as if I were some benevolent hero who was doing good. And with Anna, I flipped the script. Where I used to be gentle and accommodating, now I was cold and distant. She couldn't help but snap at me sometimes, but I never tried to smooth things over like before. In fact, I made it a point to never let her have a moment alone. She said she had to work late. I offered to wait for her downstairs so she wouldn't walk home alone. She said she was meeting her girlfriends. I offered to carry their bags and take pictures of them. She said she was treating friends to dinner. I smiled and said, "Great. I'd love to meet your friends too." It drove her insane. I could see it, every passing day, she was simmering closer to a boil. But with that $500,000 still dangling in front of her, she didn't dare explode. I kept up the act for a full week, watching her frustration reach its breaking point. Then, casually over breakfast one morning, I told her I had a business trip coming up. She didn't even try to hide her relief. Sure enough, the moment I left, she couldn't wait to let loose. I rented a car and tailed her from a distance. This time, they didn't go back to my house. They went to a hotel. Not just any hotel, a boutique love hotel known for themed rooms and neon signs. Of course. It had been days. She'd been bottled up, starved for her little secret romance. Now with me out of the picture, the floodgates were open. I parked across the street and waited. There was no rush. They'd be at it for hours. I sent Daisy the hotel name and room number. Daisy, your boyfriend's in a hotel room, with another woman. To make sure she didn't doubt me, I attached a photo I'd just snapped of Henry and Anna, arms linked, walking into the building like a couple on a romantic getaway. She didn't disappoint. Less than 30 minutes later, she stormed in like a woman on a mission. I was hiding just around the corner in the stairwell when I saw her march down the hallway, heels clicking against the tile, fury practically radiating off her. She went straight to the room and started pounding on the door with both fists. Open the damn door, you cheating bastard. No answer. She kept banging, shouting louder with every second, but no one came to open up. And I started getting anxious on her behalf. If they had time to clean up, if Henry could weasel his way into some excuse, then the whole scene would be diluted, no more smoking gun. I needed chaos. I needed impact. Just then, divine intervention. A housekeeping staff member came walking by, holding a master key card. Before she could react, Daisy snatched it right out of her hand and swiped it against the lock. Click. The door swung open. I nearly cheered. Thank you, housekeeping staff. What happened next was pure theater. Anna's high-pitched scream echoed from inside the room, followed immediately by Daisy's furious voice. You filthy cheating scumbag. You think I wouldn't find out? The housekeeper stood there for a moment, clearly startled, but she didn't panic. She just calmly picked up her radio and called the front desk. That level of calm? You could tell she'd seen scenes like this before. Maybe dozens of times. Meanwhile, I stood a few feet behind, masked up and pretending to be a random guest curious about the noise, phone in hand, filming from behind Daisy. What happened inside that room? Nothing short of a disaster movie. Henry hadn't even gotten his pants back on before Daisy shoved him so hard he slid halfway under the side table. Then she lunged straight at Anna. One hand grabbed a fistful of hair. The other slapped across her face, sharp and loud. Slut. That's my man, you think I wouldn't find out? You think you're untouchable? You better look in the damn mirror before going after someone else's boyfriend. Another slap. And Daisy didn't just hit, she kept firing off insults like a machine gun, her voice echoing off the walls. You home-wrecking trash. You don't even know what kind of man you're sleeping with. Want a prize? You won first place in the Desperate Skank Olympics. I didn't move. I just kept recording, steady and quiet, capturing every second of the chaos. It was messy. Brutal. Perfect. After a dozen solid slaps, Daisy must have started feeling it in her hand, so she kicked off her heels and grabbed one. Next thing I knew, she was swinging the stiletto like a weapon, the sole smacking against Anna's skin with brutal force. Henry tried to intervene, lunging forward to stop her. Big mistake. Daisy didn't care who got in the way, her fury was indiscriminate. The heel jabbed right into Henry's face, and I heard him yelp in pain. He dropped to the floor, clutching his eye, cursing and groaning. Anna, still half-naked and wrapped in nothing but a bath towel, was in no shape to fight back. She had one hand occupied just holding the towel up, her defense was clumsy at best. She barely managed to block the hits as Daisy kept swinging like a woman possessed. It was a massacre. You want to steal my man? Daisy shouted, voice raw with rage. Well, let everyone see your true face. She grabbed Anna by the wrist and tried to drag her toward the hallway. Let the whole damn world see what a shameless tramp you are. Just as she started pulling her out the door, hotel staff from the front desk came rushing in. That was my cue. I slipped my phone into my pocket and quietly made my exit, melting into the background like just another startled guest. But I didn't go far. I got in my car and parked across the street, watching from behind the tinted glass. About 20 minutes later, Daisy stormed out first, dragging Henry by the ear like a misbehaving child. His head was down, his eye clearly still in pain. 5 minutes after that, Anna emerged. Wrapped in shame, head low, moving like a ghost. I tailed her all the way home. Once I got home, I called her. She declined the call. I tried FaceTime. Declined again. I'm trying to sleep, she texted. Can you not bother me right now? I typed back calmly, hey Anna, just wanted to let you know, my business trip wrapped up early. I'm actually on my way home now. A pause. Then, why so soon? Well, I thought you'd be happy to see me. Aren't you? No reply. 10 minutes later, I was at the gate of our complex, and right on cue, I spotted her rushing out, face half covered in a mask, eyes darting everywhere like a fugitive. She flagged down a cab in a panic. And just like that, she was gone again, running from guilt, from consequences, from me. Just then, Anna finally sent a message. "No, I just went to my mom's place." "Oh. Then I'll come pick you up tomorrow," I replied casually. "Let's talk tomorrow. I'm going to bed." I didn't push it. Instead, I picked up the phone and called my mother-in-law. "Hey, just checking in. Anna said she went over to your place, but she sounded kind of off on the phone. Everything okay? Did something happen?" There was a moment of hesitation, long enough to catch it. She stuttered for a second, clearly thrown off. Almost slipped. Then she recovered, forcing a chuckle. "Oh, no, no. She's probably just stressed from work. You know how she gets sometimes. Nothing serious." I smiled into the phone. "Good to know. Thanks." I didn't press her further. No need. The next morning, I insisted on a video call. Anna resisted. Finally, she caved and said she'd had a facial treatment and her face was swollen. She didn't want anyone seeing her like that. I softened my tone. Told her I'd been under a lot of pressure lately, that maybe I'd taken it out on her. I apologized, gently, sincerely. As I spoke, I heard something on the other end. A sniffle. Then a low, shaky breath. Was she crying? "George," she whispered. "I miss you." A few days out in the cold, and suddenly she remembered what a warm home feels like. "Sorry, Anna. Too little, too late." I'd stopped caring. A few days later, I took things up a notch. I downloaded a voice modifier app, chose a soft, sweet, almost too innocent voice, and recorded a few audio messages. Then, using my fake beauty account, I sent them straight to Henry. "Henry, when can you take my portraits? I really want to shoot something pretty with you. Tomorrow, maybe? I seriously can't wait. I bet you're even better looking in real life than you are in those photos." No reply. Not yet. I followed up with a few more messages, this time attaching a series of photos. Not of myself, of course. I dug through the internet for those, outfits carefully chosen not for elegance, but for impact. The kind of weird, suggestive fashion pieces that scream clickbait for men. A skin-tight dress with oversized cutouts on the sides. Low-rise shorts hanging so precariously it looked like gravity might win any second. "I already bought all the outfits," I messaged. "I really want this vibe for the shoot. And I just know you're the only one who could bring it to life." A few minutes passed. Then came the reply, "Sounds good. Of course. About someone like Henry? He won't change. Not now, and not in the future." I smiled to myself. I told him I'd already picked a location, a small park on the outskirts of town. "Quiet, perfect for shooting," I said. Then I made another call. To Nate. Poor, gullible Nate. "Hey," I sighed heavily the moment he picked up. "George? What's up?" His tone perked up instantly. Ever since he heard I was willing to bankroll his house, he'd been acting like my biggest fan. I wanted to ask you for a favor," I said hesitantly. "But forget it. It's not important. I'll figure something else out." "Wait, no. Don't say that. George, you're family. Just tell me what it is. I'll help however I can." I almost laughed. He was practically tripping over himself to prove his loyalty now, desperate to stay in my good graces and secure that sweet six-figure handout. So I laid it out for him, carefully crafted, half truth, half drama. Tough situation. A good friend of mine, his girlfriend's been seeing another guy behind his back. Apparently, they're meeting up again today. My friend's furious, wants to scare the guy off, maybe teach him a little lesson. But the problem is, both of us have been seen by the guy before. If we show up, he might recognize us and start trouble. Nate perked up immediately. "You're serious? That's messed up. You know I played varsity sports, right? Just tell me what you need, I got this." Perfect. I gave him the basics, painted Henry as the sleazeball luring women away from committed relationships. Nate was fired up by the second sentence. I made sure to sound hesitant, like I was just barely comfortable asking. "Oh, and Nate, don't tell Anna, okay? You know how she gets, she'd flip if she found out we were involved in something like this. Probably accuse me of being petty again." "Of course, George," he said with enthusiasm. You can count on me. I bet I could. He was so eager to prove himself, so desperate to play hero. Too bad he had no idea what kind of story he'd just walked into. Late the next morning, Henry sent me a selfie. He was already at the park, just like we'd agreed. The plan was simple, whoever arrived first would send a photo so the other could find them easily. He stood by the lake, wearing a tan trench coat and holding his camera, trying his best to look suave and mysterious. I dialed Nate. He's there, I said. Right by the little lake, wearing a tan coat. Got a camera slung over his shoulder. Got it, Nate said, sounding pumped. Just wait for the good news, George. I stayed out of sight, watching from a distance. And there he was, Nate, bundled up in a hoodie and jacket, sneaking up from behind like some undercover agent. He reached out and gave Henry a casual tap on the shoulder. Henry, still hands in his pockets, assumed it was the model arriving. He even flipped his hair back dramatically before turning around. Big mistake. The moment he turned, Nate delivered a slap that echoed across the park. I knew Nate had a heavy hand, but that one could have knocked someone into next week. Henry staggered, dazed, totally thrown off balance. Before he could recover, Nate aimed a brutal kick straight below the belt. Henry didn't see it coming. He doubled over instantly, letting out a strangled scream that carried across the lake. Even from where I was standing, I winced, and smiled. Damn, that felt good. Henry collapsed, clutching himself, groaning on the ground like a wounded animal. I messaged Nate, that's enough. Wrap it up. He nodded and stepped back, but not before grabbing Henry's precious camera and hurling it straight into the lake with a satisfying splash. Seconds later, my phone buzzed. Nate, calling me, practically glowing with pride. Well? How'd I do? He asked, beaming through the phone. I gave him exactly what he wanted to hear. You did great. Seriously, you have no idea how much you helped. Then, after a beat, I added, my investment plan's almost up anyway. Don't stress, there's no rush returning that $500,000. I mean, come on, you're my only brother-in-law. That last part practically made his day. He laughed like he'd just won the lottery. George, you're the best. I swear, next time you've got a job like this, I'm in. I hate guys like that, soft, pretentious types. He had it coming. I smiled quietly to myself. Yeah, Nate. You were useful. More useful than you'll ever know. After that day, I logged into my fake beauty account to message Henry again. Blocked. Not surprising. He probably assumed the guy who beat him up was my boyfriend. I didn't mind, it played right into the narrative I'd built. He wasn't about to call the cops or raise hell. His guilty conscience would keep him quiet. That kind of man never wants attention when things turn against him. And after getting schooled twice, first by Daisy, then by Nate, he was bound to keep a low profile for a while. Not to mention, after Nate's kick, he may not have that ability for the time being. As for Anna, she continued hiding out at her parents' place. Every time I offered to visit, she made up some excuse to dodge me, work meetings, errands, headaches. But after nearly a week, she couldn't keep avoiding me forever. When she finally came home, I acted shocked. Whoa, what happened to your face? It's still bruised after all this time? She froze for half a second before responding, oh. I got my period that day. Messed with my clotting or something. It's normal. I squinted, pointing to a tiny scab near her cheekbone. And this part? Looks like something sliced you. She covered the spot quickly. Probably scratched it myself with a fingernail. It's nothing. I nodded. Got it. Her guilty conscience was already doing most of the work. These days, she'd been strangely sweet at home, overcompensating, affectionate, trying to read my moods like she was walking on eggshells. And me? I slipped right back into my routine, polite on the surface, quietly needling her underneath. Petty little jabs, sudden cold shoulders, snide comments disguised as casual questions. Nothing overt. But it got under her skin. Her face was still healing, and her nerves were frayed from playing house with someone she no longer loved. The perfect recipe for quiet misery. I caught her one night in the corner of the living room, whispering into her tablet during a video call with her mom. She's miserable, I heard her say. I can't take it anymore. We need to buy that house fast, get it done so I can leave. I can't stand another day with him. Oh, Anna. If you're so desperate to leave, maybe I should help you along. Maybe I should help you get back with your darling Henry. After the hotel incident, Daisy had messaged me a few times, asking who I was, who'd tipped her off. I never replied. But now, maybe it was time I did. I compiled all the messages between my fake beauty account and Henry, screenshots, flirty exchanges, those ridiculous thirst trap selfies, and sent them all to Daisy. This time, I sent it in a new voice, posing as an angry boyfriend. Control your man. Next time, he won't just get slapped. Next time, it won't be that simple. Didn't take long for a reply. First message, he told me he fell off his bike. Lying to me again? Right on cue. Classic playbook. The cheater's greatest hits. It was never his fault. It was the other woman. She seduced him. It was a moment of weakness. It didn't mean anything. You're the only one I really love. I could practically hear him rehearsing it in the mirror. But I doubted Daisy was buying it this time. Sure, maybe she forgave him once. But twice? After all that? No woman with a shred of self-respect would stick around for that encore. I seized the moment and messaged her again through the fake account, this time with a more sincere, heartfelt tone. You're a beautiful woman, Daisy. You could have any man you wanted. Why waste your time on trash like him? A man who cheats once will cheat again. It's just a matter of when. Daisy replied, so that's why you added me in the first place? Just to lecture me? No, I wrote back. Because we've both been lied to. And I didn't want to see you get hurt again. It was true, in a way. Just not in the way she thought. Later that night, while Anna was in the shower, I made my move. I'd seen her tablet's passcode a few days earlier, just a quick glance over her shoulder, filed away in my memory. Now I used it. I unlocked the device and started scrolling through her social media apps, nothing. No sign of Henry anywhere. No messages, no DMs, not even a trace of their old chats. I opened her contacts list. Still nothing. But I wasn't convinced. On impulse, I tapped into the block list. There it was. Henry's profile, quietly sitting among the blocked users. She hadn't deleted him. Just hid him. A neat little trick to make it look like she'd cut ties while keeping a backdoor open. But I knew better. No way were those two finished. No one goes to such lengths to bury a name unless they plan on digging it back up again. The next day, I got a message from Daisy, completely out of the blue. I broke up with him. Disgusting. I sent back a simple thumbs up emoji. It said everything I needed to say. And in that moment, I found myself re-evaluating people a little. Daisy, for all her flashy appearance and rough edges, had drawn a clear line. No hesitation. No drama. Just done. She saw the truth, and she walked away. Meanwhile, Anna, the picture-perfect wife in everyone's eyes, polite, soft-spoken, such a good girl, in the eyes of our friends and neighbors, was the one sneaking around behind my back. Not only did she betray me with another man, she'd planned to scam me out of $500,000 and run off with him. It's funny how people wear masks so well. Later that evening, I found another opportunity to quietly unlock her tablet again. This time, I noticed something new. Henry's account was no longer in her block list. I searched her contacts again, just in case. And there it was. Henry's burner account. When I tapped into the chat, it was all one-sided. Just a few short messages, all from him. All apologies. I'm sorry. I miss you. It wasn't what you think. No replies from Anna. But I wasn't fooled. Let's lay this out. Henry had just taken a beating from Nate. He wouldn't dare flirt online for a while, not after what happened. Then Daisy dumped him. So what does a guy like him do when he's lonely and bruised? He runs back to what's familiar. He reaches out to Anna. I could almost hear the line he used. I broke up with that crazy chick for you. It was always you. And Anna? She'd been spaced out for days, clearly still thinking about him. She didn't have to respond to feel the pull. Forgive him? Not yet. But forget him? Not a chance. It was only a matter of time before she gave in again. They were circling the drain, inevitable as gravity. And honestly, I was rooting for it. Let them get back together. Let them sneak around again. In fact, I planned to give them a little push. The month was nearly up. My mother-in-law had dropped hints more than once, just to make sure I wouldn't back out at the last second. You could practically hear the anxiety in her voice each time she brought it up, like I might suddenly vanish with her dream slipping through my fingers. So I called her directly. "Hey," I said cheerfully, "the funds are about to come through. When it's time to make the payment, let's all go to the sales office together. We'll celebrate afterward, whole family out for dinner. You know, make it a special day for Nate." She was over the moon. Said yes immediately, twice, just to make sure I heard her. 3 days later, I stood inside the sales center with Anna and her entire family. The place was packed, shoulder to shoulder. No question, this development was hot property. I overheard someone complaining behind us, "It wasn't this crazy during phase 1. "Of course not," someone else chimed in. "Prices have already jumped 5 or 6 grand per unit. You wait a day, you lose money." My father-in-law turned to me again, just to double-check, like he couldn't quite believe it was real. "George, that 500,000. I smiled and held up my debit card. "Right here." The way their faces lit up, you'd think I just handed them a winning lottery ticket. Their grins stretched ear to ear, eyes sparkling like kids on Christmas morning. I glanced at them and thought, enjoy it while it lasts. You won't be smiling much longer. After a long stretch of ticket numbers, waiting lines, floor plan viewings, and paperwork shuffling, we finally made it to the final step, payment. Nate was practically vibrating with excitement. Understandably so, this was his house, his golden moment. His face was flushed with pride. My in-laws beamed beside him, laughing, giddy, faces folded in joy. I glanced at Anna. She was standing off to the side, staring into the distance, completely checked out of the moment. I nudged her gently with my elbow. "Hey," I said, grinning. "Once we get this house squared away for Nate, maybe it's time we focus on something of our own." She blinked at me, unsure. "Like what?" I smiled even wider, loud enough for her parents to hear. "Let's have a baby." Anna's face stiffened instantly. Her smile froze mid-expression, her body tensed, and for a split second, I saw real panic flash through her eyes. What?" she muttered, voice barely audible. But I didn't say another word. Just let the silence sit there, heavy and awkward. She wanted to run off and build a future with someone else? Fine. But not before she realized just how messy that future could get. The developer had gone all out with the sales event, trying to make the process feel like a celebration. Each time a deal closed, the massive screen at the front of the room burst into animated fireworks, followed by canned applause and cheering sound effects. Corny, but effective. When it was finally our turn, my father-in-law and Nate sat down at the table, pulling out their documents. The sales rep smiled and prepared to walk them through the final steps. And then, everything stopped. The big screen flickered. The fireworks disappeared. And suddenly, a new video started to play. A voice shouted from the speakers, sharp, shrill, furious. "You filthy whore. Trying to steal my man? You wanna die today? Stop hitting her. Please, just stop. Get out of my way. I swear I'll beat her to death." The entire sales center fell into stunned silence. Chairs stopped shifting. Pens stopped scribbling. Conversations froze mid-sentence. Everyone turned toward the screen. The video was shaky, just enough to feel real. The scene was chaos, a woman wrapped in nothing but a bath towel, her hair being yanked back violently by another woman in heavy makeup, heels flying as she struck her again and again. A half-dressed man sat crying in the corner, holding his face in agony. Even a fool can see what's going on. A cheating scandal caught on camera. The towel-clad woman tried to dodge the blows, but her face flashed clearly several times. Most of the crowd didn't recognize her. But we did. There was no mistaking it. That was Anna. Those few crisp, unforgiving frames, I'd edited them myself. No background noise, no extra context. Just pure humiliation on loop. "Holy crap, who brought in a cheating drama reel?" someone shouted from the back. Others scrambled to pull out their phones, snapping photos and recording clips of the footage before it disappeared. Sales staff rushed the control booth, fumbling to shut it down, apologizing over the mic, insisting it was a technical error, some mix-up with the presentation file. Too late. The room had already exploded with whispers and murmurs. I turned slowly to face Anna's parents, feigning confusion, jaw clenched, voice low but clear. "That woman, on the screen." I didn't finish the sentence. Didn't have to. The looks on their faces said everything. Nate stood frozen, eyes glued to the screen, clearly stunned. He had no idea what his sister had done. My mother-in-law was the first to react. She sprang up from her chair, waving her hands and shaking her head like a malfunctioning puppet. No. That's not her. It can't be her. But her voice cracked, and her panic only made it worse. I turned my gaze toward Anna. She wasn't saying a word. Her teeth were clamped down on her lower lip, eyes wide with disbelief, but not the kind you see when someone's wrongly accused. It was the kind that comes from being caught. There was guilt in her face, buried beneath the shock, but unmistakable. My father-in-law tried to keep his composure, voice strained but pretending to be calm. George, let's not make a scene. Let's just finish the paperwork, they're waiting on us. He reached for my arm. I pulled away. I can't. My head's a mess right now. I need some air. George. But I didn't wait. I turned and pushed through the crowd, ignoring the whispers and the eyes trailing behind me. Let them stare. Let them wonder. That's part of the show. Behind me, I could hear my father-in-law calling out, trying to save face. And then, Nate's voice, confused and panicked. George. Hey, wait, come on. I didn't stop. I didn't even look back. They weren't chasing me because they cared. They were chasing me because in their eyes, I was still walking around holding a $500,000 check. That house wasn't a dream, it was a transaction. And I was the wallet. Too bad for them, I'd planned my exit well. Right outside the doors, a cab was already waiting. I'd called it 15 minutes earlier. I opened the door, got in, and pulled it shut in one clean motion. From the rearview mirror, I watched Nate burst out of the sales center, breathless and confused, yelling after me like a dog chasing a car it couldn't catch. I didn't wave. I didn't smile. I just leaned back in the seat as the car pulled away. Sure, part of me wanted to stay, wanted to see their faces fall apart, wanted to see Anna's expression when she realized everything had unraveled in one spectacular collapse. But no. This was better. Leaving now made me the injured party. The shocked husband. The betrayed man suffering a heartbreak in public view. Let them try to explain their way out of this mess. Let them sit in their shame and scramble for excuses. I was done handing out chances. Of course, the video was mine. I'd handed it to the sales center staff in advance, tucked inside a USB drive. Told them it was a proposal video, something heartfelt, something personal. Said I wanted to surprise my fiancée at this special moment, right as we signed the paperwork for her brother's new home. Told them I wanted everyone there to witness our joy. Just in case that plan fell through, I had a backup. I'd also doctored a set of fake messages on my phone, complete with photos and timestamps. If needed, I could have accidentally opened them at the signing table, casually turning the screen so they'd see it. But that wasn't necessary. Because everything went exactly the way I'd planned. I wasn't trying to be cruel for the sake of cruelty. But let's be honest, if they hadn't plotted to rob me blind, if they hadn't tried to orchestrate a clean getaway with $500,000 of my money, I never would have gone this far. They made their bed. Now they could lie in it. As the car drove me farther from the chaos, my phone kept buzzing. Mother-in-law. Again and again. I turned the ringer off. Then came a message from Nate. George, please, just come back so we can finish the paperwork. I'm begging you. I replied calmly. Nate, I just need time to cool off. Maybe you should talk to Anna. Ask her what's really going on. I just don't want to cause a bigger scene in public. That was a lie, of course. I wanted nothing but a scene. I'd waited days for this moment, for the precise second their dream would crack wide open, right when success was within reach. That kind of humiliation. It cuts deeper when it hits from the top of the mountain. They wouldn't forget it. Not today. Not ever. That night, Anna didn't come home. But her parents did. They showed up at my door, masks of concern painted over their panic. At first, they tried to play innocent. Tried to smooth it over with soft voices and hopeful smiles. It has to be a misunderstanding, her mother said. Someone's trying to sabotage our family. That video, it must have been doctored. You can't believe everything you see, George, her father added. You're smarter than that. I said nothing. Just watched them squirm in my living room, wondering how long they thought they could keep the lie going. They still didn't understand. This wasn't me getting fooled. This was me flipping the script. I let them talk. Listened quietly, expression flat, eyes distant, until they ran out of words. Then, calmly, I started to speak. I didn't say anything back then, I said, but the signs were there, way before today. I told them how, 2 months ago, I'd returned early from a business trip and noticed the faint smell of cigarette smoke on our balcony. The ash on the floor tiles. The razor that had clearly been used, despite the fact that I always cleaned it before I leave. Then I pulled out my phone and showed them the old screenshot from the neighbors' group chat, the one accusing someone from our apartment of smoking and dropping ash onto freshly washed clothes. I thought it was weird at the time, I said. But now? It all makes sense. I paused, then added coldly, and that video today? That wasn't some random leak or sabotage. That was her lover's mess catching up with her. They were quiet for a long time after that. My mother-in-law finally broke the silence, crying loudly, practically wailing. Classic performance. A desperate shift to the sympathy play. "Please, George," she sobbed. "Please, don't do this. We'll talk to Anna. We'll make sure she understands what she's done. We'll help her fix it, just give her another chance." Her voice cracked like glass, trembling with so-called sincerity. If I hadn't already read their little scheming messages, if I hadn't seen with my own eyes how they plotted to strip me of everything, I might have believed it. Hell, I might have caved. Might have forgiven. But I'd seen too much. No tears. No guilt. No apology was ever going to rewrite the truth. Let them act all they wanted, I wasn't buying the show. Eventually, they realized it too. That I wasn't budging. They left in silence, defeated and bitter. The next day, Anna came home. Her face was swollen, one cheek puffy and red, fresh bruising under the skin. I don't know if it was her father or her mother who beat her. Frankly, I didn't care. She didn't say a word. Just walked through the door, head down, and started quietly packing her things. I watched from the living room, arms crossed. "You're not even going to try to explain?" I asked, finally breaking the silence. She froze. Should have kept quiet. Because that one sentence lit a fuse. She spun around, rage pouring out of her like a firestorm. "You knew," she shouted, throwing a handful of clothes to the floor. "You knew all along, didn't you? You sat there every day, pretending like everything was fine, playing house, watching me like a damn zoo animal. Was this all a game to you? Did you enjoy humiliating me? Turning my whole family into a joke?" I looked her dead in the eye. "Yes," I said. Calm. "I enjoyed it. Every second." Her face twisted, shock, fury, shame all tangled together. She had nothing left to say. Nothing that could save her now. And I had nothing left to give. Anna snapped. Furious, she lunged at me, trying to claw at my face, but I easily caught her wrists midair. She'd clearly reached her breaking point, days of guilt, shame, and pressure from her parents finally boiling over. "You think you're so perfect," she shouted. "You think I'm the only one to blame? You've never been a good husband, never once cared what I wanted. You think you're so righteous, but you've always been cold, controlling, selfish." She kept going, unloading every grievance she'd stored up since the day we said I do, as if trying to rewrite our entire marriage into one big disappointment. And me? I just stood there, letting her scream. I didn't yell back. Didn't flinch. Just let her burn out. I'd already stopped caring. There was nothing left to argue about. When she finally ran out of steam, she turned her back, slammed the last suitcase shut, and muttered without looking at me. "Divorce." I nodded. "Good." The words slipped out like a relief. The sooner the better. She'd been waiting for this moment. She just didn't expect to be the one leaving empty-handed. Her parents didn't come knocking again. They knew the $500,000 was off the table for good, and there was no talking me out of that now. But when we got down to the real business, dividing assets, signing papers, that's when their true colors came out. Her mother, arms crossed, voice sharp and self-righteous, glared at me across the table. "Well, the house is yours, fine. You bought it before the marriage. But everything else, all marital assets, should be split 50-50. Unbelievable. They still thought they could squeeze something out of me. But I'd come prepared. I opened the folder in front of me and calmly laid out the financial records I'd spent weeks gathering. "Actually," I said, "of the $500,000 you've been drooling over, $300,000 came from my premarital savings. Only $200,000 was earned during the marriage." I flipped another page. And I borrowed $100,000 from a friend during that time, used entirely for household expenses, vacations, and gifts. Including holiday presents I gave your family. I looked them straight in the eyes. That debt still hasn't been paid. And if we're splitting marital property, we're also splitting marital debt. So, I concluded, when you do the math, your daughter's entitled to maybe $50,000. And honestly, I consider that money flushed down the drain. Nate looked stunned. He didn't want to believe it. Fine, I said, shrugging. Hire a lawyer. I'll get mine. Let's see who walks away with what. The truth was, every dollar I'd earned during the marriage had gone toward us. Rent, bills, vacations, dinners, her wardrobe, her birthday trips. Meanwhile, Anna hoarded her paycheck like a squirrel prepping for winter. If we really broke everything down, I might not owe her a damn cent. Her parents sat there in silence, jaws clenched, faces pale. They thought they were walking away with $250,000. Instead, they were looking at scraps. $50,000. A fifth of what they expected. Their expressions said it all: shock, disbelief, rage. I didn't care. That was me being generous. I could have given her nothing at all. After the mandatory 30-day cooling-off period, the divorce was finalized. It was over. When we walked out of the courthouse, Anna turned to me with a smug, almost gleeful expression. Her eyes sparkled with defiance. I'll be married again in no time. "Wanna bet?" she said, lips curled into a sneer. "Oh yeah?" I replied, casually. "So, who's the lucky guy? Come on, now that it's all over, you can finally admit it. Who's the lover boy?" She gave me a cold, satisfied smile. "Not telling," she said. "I'd rather leave you guessing. Drive you crazy." I chuckled. "Fine. Just don't forget to send me a wedding invite. I promise I'll bring a memorable gift." She shot me a glare and stormed off. She thought keeping it secret would torment me, but the truth was, I hoped they'd get back together. I was practically rooting for it. Because what she didn't know was, that relationship was already a ticking time bomb. And whether they got married or not, well, that wasn't entirely up to her. Later, I messaged Henry from my business account. "Hey, sorry, change of plans. That company ID photo shoot's been postponed indefinitely." "Oh, alright," he replied. I waited a few beats, then added, "By the way, my wife, well, ex-wife now, visited your girlfriend's nail salon recently. Really nice place. So, when are you two getting married?" His response came quickly, not anytime soon. "We don't even have a place yet, how are we supposed to get married?" I'd been following Emily's posts for a while now. You could tell she was trying. Working hard, saving money, talking about building a future. She was clearly planning for something real, dreaming of a life together, a home, a wedding. But Henry? He didn't deserve her. A man who sneaks around behind her back, chasing prettier faces for his ego, but clings to her stability like a lifeline, keeping her just close enough so he never ends up alone. The kind who won't commit, won't leave, just drift somewhere in between. Playing loyal boyfriend by day, while swiping, texting, and seducing other women by night. Despicable. Self-serving. A true master of manipulation, always calculating, always hedging his bets. Men like him make me sick. After the divorce, Anna's social media lit up like a fireworks show. Selfies. Brunch plates. Shopping sprees. Spa visits. Every photo was carefully curated, every caption deliberately cheerful, as if she were staging a one-woman performance titled, "Look How Amazing My Life Is Without You." She didn't block me. She wanted me to see it all. Every filtered smile, every happy meal. Like she was trying to prove something. But I wasn't buying the act. 2 weeks later, it was her birthday. I figured she wouldn't want to spend it at home. Not after her family's disappointment, Nate's failed home-buying dreams and her parents' silent Cold War. She'd be looking for validation somewhere else. Most likely, Henry. So that morning, I tested the waters. Texted Henry from my work account, casual as ever. "Got any plans today?" "Yeah," he replied. "Shooting outdoors this afternoon." Perfect. By noon, I was parked outside his studio, waiting. Soon enough, he came out, dressed like he thought he was walking a red carpet instead of shooting stock photos, and I tailed him all the way to a restaurant downtown. And there she was. Anna. Waiting at the entrance in a cream-colored dress, arms wide with a smile that was a little too practiced. When Henry arrived, she slipped her arm through his and walked in with him like they were a scene from some second-rate romance flick. I snapped a few photos, clean, sharp, undeniable. At this point, I was starting to feel like a full-time paparazzo. If corporate work ever dried up, I might have a future in tabloid journalism. But I had another plan in mind. I switched back to my fake beauty account and messaged Emily, Henry's unsuspecting girlfriend. "Hey. You guys dining at the restaurant right now?" "Small world, my husband and I are here too." She replied with a question mark. "He just told me he saw Henry go in with a girl." "That must have been you, right? You must have mistaken them for someone else." "Impossible. Henry's way too handsome to confuse with anyone else. But I'm at the salon today." Bingo. Right then, I sent her the photo. Henry and Anna, walking in arm like a couple from a magazine spread. I followed it up with an awkward emoji. Oh wow. Maybe I did get it wrong. Then, for added effect, I quickly deleted the photo. Just pretend I didn't say anything, okay? It wasn't sabotage. It was mercy. She deserved better, and I wasn't going to let her waste another year figuring that out on her own. Later that evening, while I scrolled through my feed, I saw Anna's latest post. She sat in front of a birthday cake, candles flickering as she made a wish with her eyes closed. The caption? "Sometimes you have to leave the wrong person to meet the right one." Subtle, right? I was the wrong person. Henry, naturally, was the right one. But fairy tales only look good on camera. Reality was coming. I must have waited nearly 40 minutes. Customers came and went through the restaurant doors, but I was so focused on my phone that I didn't even notice when Emily walked in. It wasn't until I heard the commotion inside that I realized the show had started. I stepped closer to the entrance and peered in. Anna was standing there, hands on her hips, shouting, clearly furious. But Emily wasn't even looking at her. She had her eyes locked on Henry, demanding answers, asking the same question over and over. Who is she? Why is she here? Henry looked like a deer in headlights, sweaty, twitchy, fumbling for words that wouldn't come. He couldn't tell the truth. Not now. Not in front of both women. Panicked, he tried to usher Emily out, desperate to escape. But Anna blocked his path, standing tall and confident, as if she were the real girlfriend now. She had nothing to hide, she was single, loud, and, for the first time, unashamed. This was nothing like the desperate, half-naked mess she'd been at the hotel that night. She thought she'd won. Emily, meanwhile, didn't scream or slap anyone. She wasn't Daisy, she didn't come in swinging. But her silence cut deeper. Her eyes said it all. She'd already figured it out. Whatever feelings she still had for Henry, they crumbled right there. Without a word, she turned around and walked away. Henry panicked. His safety net was leaving. He pushed past Anna, ignoring her shrill voice echoing behind him. If you walk out that door, we're done. You hear me? Done. And then, right there in front of everyone, Henry snapped. He turned around, eyes wild with frustration, and snapped at her. You think this meant something? You think this was real? He shouted. We were just messing around. You weren't my girlfriend, you were a distraction. You think I'd ever marry someone like you? A divorced woman? Get real. The room went silent. Anna stood frozen, her mouth open, the color draining from her face. Her true love had just ripped the illusion wide open, in public, no less. To him, she was never anything more than a placeholder. She wasn't his future. She was a mistake. Emily walked past me on her way out, not even glancing in my direction as she brushed by, composed, elegant, free. And then came Henry, storming after her, his breath shallow, his steps frantic. As he passed, I quietly extended one foot into his path. He didn't see it. His foot caught mine, and down he went, hard, face first onto the sidewalk. He groaned in pain, sprawled across the pavement. I looked down at him and smiled, just barely. That night, I checked Anna's social media again. Her birthday post, the one with the cake and the cryptic quote about finding the right person, was gone. Vanished. Less than 12 hours later, I don't think Henry was the right man anymore. I almost laughed. But the real shock came a week later. Emily and Henry updated their profiles, together. Not only had they not broken up, they were getting married. Henry had proposed. Emily even posted a photo of the ring, oval-cut diamond, white gold band, a caption full of hearts and hashtags. Unbelievable. I'd overestimated Emily's sense and underestimated Henry's charm. His lies must have wrapped around her like silk. Technically, none of this had anything to do with me anymore. Anna and I were done. Henry had cut ties with her too. In theory, we are all free beings. But something about seeing him winning, seeing him getting away with it, gnawed at me. Henry didn't deserve a happy ending. He deserved consequences. I sat there debating whether I should just send everything to Emily, all the evidence I'd collected, screenshots, photos, videos. A full dossier on the man she was about to marry. But a part of me still wondered, would she even believe it? Or worse, would she forgive him again? That's when fate handed me something better. At the office, I overheard two of my coworkers casually talking in the break room about STDs, routine testing, health checkups, gossip-level stuff. Nothing serious. But it triggered something in my brain. A new idea. Emily's social media had her phone number listed. I found a nearby public phone kiosk and dialed. When she picked up, I lowered my voice slightly. "You don't know me," I said, "but I'm calling to warn you. Your fiancé's been sleeping around. He's infected. You should get yourself checked, before it's too late." There was silence on the other end. Then, finally, she snapped, "Who are you?" "I'm not here to argue," I replied calmly. "I'm here to protect you. He's been with a married woman, she divorced her husband just to be with him. And that's not the worst of it." I paused, let it sink in. He's been using his photography gigs to seduce women online, offering modeling sessions that turn into hotel hookups. One of those girls had a boyfriend who showed up and beat the hell out of him. Another one caught him in bed with the married woman and slapped her senseless. Emily's voice was shaky now. "You're making this up. Check his DMs. Ask him how many girls he's messaged in the past 6 months. Ask about the woman at the hotel. Ask who gave him a black eye a few months ago." I let the words hang. "Get tested, Emily. Before you make the biggest mistake of your life." Then I hung up. Let the seeds of doubt do their work. This wasn't revenge anymore. This was justice. I didn't even need to say much, just a little truth, blended with enough believable lies to keep Emily spinning. Every detail hit its mark, and by the end of the call, she was stunned into silence. And as a final gift, I gave her Henry's secret Facebook burner account, the one he used to troll for women under the guise of photography sessions. I didn't believe for a second she'd still walk down the aisle after that. The next day, I checked Emily's social media. Every photo of Henry was gone. Every tag. Every post. A few days later, something unexpected happened. Anna's former coworker messaged me. "Hey, George," he said, "not sure if it's any of my business, but, lately, there's been this guy picking up Anna after work every day." I raised an eyebrow. I'd helped Anna get that job, called in a favor. Some of her colleagues were more familiar with me than with her. What they didn't know was the real reason we'd divorced. I asked casually, "What does this guy look like?" He gave a quick description. Of course, Henry. Unbelievable. After everything, he still had the audacity to go back to Anna? And Anna, what the hell was she thinking? Hadn't she learned anything? I couldn't figure out what it was between those two, what twisted magnetism made them so hellbent on crawling back to each other. Whatever it was, I had no more words. I could only offer them my most sincere blessing. May you two cling to each other forever, and never harm anyone else again. But, as it turns out, my blessing didn't last long. The fallout came fast. Emily's friends had gotten wind of Henry's little reunion with Anna. Furious on her behalf, they didn't just sit around gossiping, they took action. They stormed Anna's workplace, calling her a homewrecker, loudly mocking her in front of colleagues. They called her a mistress and mocked her for being so hungry that she would even take in garbage with STDs. Anna was both furious and humiliated. Word spread quickly around the office. She didn't even bother to request a leave, just ran straight out to get tested, terrified. But it was too late. Her reputation was in ruins. That afternoon, she resigned on the spot, no notice, no handover, just gone. And the chaos didn't stop there. Her family became collateral damage. Emily's friends, still burning with rage, didn't just target Anna, they went after her entire household. Her parents were bombarded with anonymous calls, online harassment, and neighbors whispering behind their backs. Nate, ever the hothead, snapped. Knowing his sister had messed up, he still needed someone to blame, and he went straight for Henry. He stormed into Henry's photography studio, ready to confront his so-called future brother-in-law. The moment he stepped through the door and realized Henry was the same guy he'd beat up outside the park weeks ago, the whole thing exploded. Fists flew. Furniture was trashed. The scene got so bad, someone called both the police and an ambulance. By the end, both men were bloodied and bruised. Charges were filed. Damage was done. And just like that, Anna and Henry split, again. Henry's name was toast in the local creative scene. No one wanted to work with the guy with an STD. His studio lost bookings. Clients disappeared. His little empire of lies collapsed like a house of cards. Anna's parents? Publicly humiliated. Their neighbors talked. Their friends distanced themselves. Their golden daughter's choices had wrecked what was left of their carefully curated image. Their son didn't get the house. Their daughter didn't get the husband. Their family, once so arrogant and self-assured, was now a punchline. And no one knew what I'd done. No one knew how carefully, how quietly, I'd orchestrated it all. I never raised my voice. I never raised my hand. I never sent a single threat. I just set the pieces in motion. And let them destroy themselves.